No, man, honestly, I got here late, just was held up at my job, and I was just like, I kind of missed
All
the
right.
main thing.
So-
Sorry.
Hey, thank you for being here. Today we're going to build something exciting together, and it's going to be a real-time chat app using AWS AppSync Events. So let's dive in. My name is Muhammad Ali Hasan, and I'm a software developer on Energy Network. I'm fortunate enough to be part of the team that builds innovative products on AWS. It's fun. And whenever I'm not coding, I like to learn more about technology events and how to develop productivity. Increase how to do that. So let's explore it. Let's explore the agenda. So here's what we'll cover. Okay, here's what we'll cover today. We'll explore the concept of real-time experiences and how they work. We'll compare our available options in AWS for real-time APIs and the associated challenges there. We'll look at how AWS AppSync Events simplifies everything there. And we're also going to do a live demo, and you can follow along, and we'll see how it goes. So, in real-time communication, it basically revolves around publishers and subscribers. You may have heard of the term pub/sub, that's where it comes from. And publishers send events, and you can think of them like chat messages. And subscribers listen for those events and receive them in real time. And there are two major ways of implementing a real-time experience in the web: polling and WebSockets. So in polling, the clients repeatedly ask the server at the defined interval, hey, do you have new data for me? Do you have new data for me? And it's similar to the Are We There Yet game. So the problem with that is it's inefficient. Both the client and server use a lot of resources to send requests, and the server generates response, even though nothing has changed and there's no new data. WebSockets, on the other hand, provide a persistent, long-lived connection. So think of it as a pipe between the client and the server, and the server is on one end, the client is on the other, and data can flow seamlessly in real time to that pipe. There's no back and forth. So AWS offers a few ways to set up WebSocket APIs. API Gateway provides WebSocket APIs. They're highly customizable, but it requires you to manage connections and write all the backend logic yourself. IoT Core provides WebSocket endpoints. However, they're geared more towards IoT devices and use MQTT as their protocol, which is great if you're using for a sensor or another IoT device. But if you're trying to use it in a web platform, you have to manage that complexity somehow. AppSync provides GraphQL subscriptions, which is an easy-to-use solution for real-time apps, but you need to learn GraphQL to use it. And if your project isn't already using it, or if you don't have an explicit need for GraphQL, this might feel like an overkill. So here's a sample architecture of the WebSocket API implementation using API Gateway. So you can see all these Lambda functions and DB tables. You have to write those functions, you have to manage the tables, and they're just there to get the connections and storing the incoming subscriptions. This adds significant backend overhead, and especially as you scale, things start to slow down. And our AWS AppSync Events. They recently announced AppSync Events, and it's a game changer. There's no GraphQL involved, so it's a pure WebSocket API with built-in pub/sub functionality. And the good thing is it's fully managed. So AWS handles all the connection management and routing for you. And since it's fully managed, it has built-in scaling, so you can send millions of messages per second through it, and you won't worry about it breaking. Also, it integrates well with other AWS services, and one of the reasons it's able to do so is because it provides various authorization modes, such as Cognito and IAM. So your front-end application can use Cognito to connect to the WebSocket API, while your back-end resources can still be using IAM to publish events for your front-end points to consume. And here's a sample architecture with AppSync Event API. So you have publishers on the left, and these could be your backend services like Lambda, EC2, or EventBridge, and they're publishing events to the AppSync API. And on the right hand, you have subscribers, which are all the client applications that are connecting over WebSocket APIs to listen to those events. Notice in the middle that AWS manages the connection handling, message routing, scaling all for you. So you focus on your app and not on the infrastructure. All right, time to bring this to life with a live demo. You can scan the code to go to a web page that will have instructions for you to follow. There's two ways you can do it. You can either do locally, or there's a code sandbox in the browser. So, and the only requirement is you have to have an AWS account that you can deploy resources into. And if you're going the local route, you need to be able to run React apps. Cool. I'm gonna give you guys a minute to set up while I set up my environment.
Good. Okay. All right.
Okay. So to give you an overview of the app that we have here, I'm gonna start with the HTML. So I've got the logo, and then I have this messages container, which is looping over this array of messages and generating markup for every new message. So if I inspect this messages, I see it's a piece of state where it's an array, and the array has objects, and every object has content, which is a type string. So if I try to generate some random data here, I can add content, hello, and the message would pop up here. So coming back, there is a form beneath it, which just has the input type text and a button to send messages. So yeah, I can type messages here and hit enter, and those should work. It's not working right now, and that's what we're gonna fix. So this form submit method, we're gonna implement, and this is where our messages would go. We also have this use effect, and this is where I wanna set up my WebSocket connection. So as soon as my component gets mounted, I want my component to establish the WebSocket connection so it can start receiving messages. So I'm gonna go to my AWS console to set up my AppSync API, and from there we can come back. All right. So I'm gonna go to AppSync, and inside I'm gonna hit Create API. And I'm gonna choose Event API. For name, I'll leave it to the default name, my Event API, or you can change it to your liking. I'm gonna hit Create. And that's it. That's your WebSocket API ready to be integrated with the front end. But how do you integrate it? Go to this tab. And it would provide you code to set it up with your front end application. So we see this is using AWS Amplify. What's that? Amplify is like a developer tooling that's created by AWS that helps you to connect your backend resources, such as authentication and APIs to the front-end resources. So it manages the request signing and all that, and enables you to focus on the right parts. So what I'm going to do is copy the code from here, where it has Amplify configure. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come here to my application. I don't know what I have to do this. I'm going to go to the top level in my app, and I'm going to paste it here. Let's fix this API key. It's masked right now. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to settings, scroll down. For API key, I'm going to hit show and copy that. I'm going to replace it here. Yep, that looks right. And then if I go back to integrations, it's going to tell me how I can subscribe to my WebSocket API as well as how to publish messages to it. So this part just configures Amplify. Now I need to set up my WebSocket connection. So I'm going to copy this channel code, and I'm going to paste it right here. In fact, I'm going to wrap it in a function, and I'm going to call it make connection. It's going to be a sync function. And I'm going to call this function in my use effect. Sweet. Now let's tackle the form submit method. I'm going to come back to this page and copy this publish event. I'm going to paste it here. And you can see it has two arguments. The first is the channel name, and you can think of the channel as a Discord channel. So you can have like commit your code / general. Think of default and test in the same way. So I'm publishing to default test, but I'm also subscribing to default test. And what I want to publish is not this object. I want to publish whatever is in my input box. So I'm going to do content. I'm going to paste the new message state, which is what this input box is. So coming back, this channel, I'm able to connect with this subscribe method provides two methods to you that you have to implement. Next gets run whenever there's new data. Right now, we're only logging the data, and the error method gets run whenever there's an error. So for next data, I don't want to log it, but instead I want to set my state. I want to update this messages array so it has all my messages. So I'm going to set messages, and I'm going to add it to my previous list. And my message would be in data.event.content. My content is here. So if I save now, and I type something here, nothing's happening. Cliche. Let's see what went wrong. Okay. Oh.
Literally no.
Hello. Okay, I'm seeing empty. What's going wrong there?
A new error.
Yeah, new error, sure. Let's see mine up. I'm gonna change that. No. Oh. Yeah, probably a styling issue. Not really a styling. Oh, this is embarrassing. But anyways, I'm gonna switch to another branch that has the finished code. Maybe there's something I cannot see here. Okay. And I'm gonna switch my values here and see if that works. Cool. Let's see if it works now. Oh, it did. Probably something was wrong. I don't know where. So, there's not a lot of code involved here in terms of like WebSocket connection and initiation. And this is because Amplify has provided us methods to connect and send messages. Like this connect method handles all the complexity for you. And this post method handles all the sending functionalities for you. So right now, this app is pretty much ready. You can deploy it anywhere you want. So in fact, I did a demo deployment and let me see if I can share a QR code with you. So if you can scan that QR code, we can all connect and send messages to each other. Hey, working, huh? So yeah, that's the power of real-time applications and how easy it is to build with a managed service. It really helps you accelerate, especially when you start. So yeah, a couple things as we close. Security. I went the API key route. Don't publish your API keys online.
I was
Don't
gonna
push
ask.
it to GitHub. If you go to the GitHub repo, there's a branch called Finish with Cognito, and it has code that uses Cognito user roles for authentication. So it's way more secure. So it would ask you to log in first and then go from there. And there's also CDK code in the repo. So you can, if you're infrastructure as code, and you can just deploy it from there, front end back, and get it rolling. And yeah, that's all I had. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you.